think we're back. Looks like my audio is green. Let me turn this light up a little bit. Maybe it'll be a little brighter. I don't know. Pardon me. Anyway, I'm back. It's been a couple weeks ish. My other camera seems to still not be working, so I'm gonna have to figure that out on another day. Again, this time I haven't actually gone any much further. I just want to say any further, but I didn't think I got much further than I was the last time we were here live doing this because I'm trying to do as much as I can on camera. But at the same time, I respect the fact that I do want to get some stuff done, and sometimes doing it on camera is not always the best way. It's not always the easiest way. Oh yeah, I remember exactly where I left off. Um, so as I state, I am a C sharp developer. I've been developing C sharp. Oh God, years. And I there's certain tooling that I use that I truly enjoy. So here's there's a ID generator that I would use that a friend of mine put me onto, um, and I don't have access to that right now. So what I would really like is, ooh, there we go. So that's tagged. So that's the animal ID. Ah, okay. So I don't have the ability to affect this anyway because this is a third party library and this require. So okay, now I remember where we were. If I want to change this, I've got to submit something to tagged, but that would be really difficult because then they'd be stuck dealing with a random number generator. So I guess I just have to suck it up. We'll just call it animal for now. That way there'll only ever be one. Whatever, no big deal. Um, so I've got the block. I've got my pet initial state. I've got some tests. So pet initial, it requires an ID. Okay, this is where I can be smart, right? So like I can say that if there is no, like if ID doesn't exist on the, ooh, I was doing all that copy with stuff. That's what I was trying to make work. Anyway, so I'm realizing the state of the code as I'm talking about it, and I'm like, ooh, okay, now I remember where I left off. Um, I actually don't want to require an ID, and this is where okay, my C sharp brain is telling me. Okay, I actually don't know the syntax correctly for this in Dart, so I'm gonna have to look that up. I know the syntax in C sharp, but I would just do like a semicolon, a base, and pass in the thing. I think. Let me see. It might have it in this somewhere. Here it is. Super. Okay, so I just call super here. Oh, derp. Okay. Okay, 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 okay. So I just need to. That's the syntax. Super ID. If ID is null, we're going to pass in animal ID, and this is where we're going to pass in a new animal ID. So now I want to do none of that. ID. There we go. Ooh. Can't but it's not possible for it to be nullable. Oh, I see. Okay, so yeah, okay. Okay, so let me talk about that real quick. So, because that's a weird thing for me from C sharp. So, um, n- I, nullability being turned on in C sharp, I think, don't quote me, I think that I wouldn't have to take this in as null. Maybe I would. No, okay. No, in C sharp, I would be able to create multiple constructors to handle this, and that would be my preferred way of doing it. Like I'd actually rather have like a something like this, and then this actually be here, and then the new one I just pass it, and then Oh wait, maybe. Oh no, no, Dart doesn't support multiple inheritance the way that I would like. So this may not be possible. Yeah, it's gonna yell because unnamed constructor is already defined. Okay, okay, so I have to do it. So in the C sharp world, I'm not a fan of defining nullable constructor and or method parameters. Specifically when it deals with like I'm building a third party tool that multiple code bases would pull into, because changing nullability concerns on an API surface is a breaking change. So while it's easy to put a parameter at the end of a method and set it to nullable and set its default value to null, if I was to split that out later into two methods for whatever reason, that's technically considered a breaking change. So it gets weird. And I've seen some weird stuff around that. I've gotten bit from it, and I'm the type where like if you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, I had it coming. You know, I should have known better. So all right, here we go. Okay, but that would okay, that would be the initial pet state, and that has everything. Okay, so that would still work for that copy with, but then I'd still have to cast it back out, and I don't know how expensive like the typing system is in Dart yet, so I don't want to make bad design choices like, oh yeah, I can just do this and cast it back out every time, which is just like, maybe, maybe not. Let me see. No, I don't like the way that looks. I'm sorry, and I know somebody told me I have a colleague that does some Flutter and was explaining to me that I need to put these commas at the end of every line because that's the Flutter way, and I respect that. I really do. I am not a fan of this. This does not do it for me. It doesn't make me happy when I look at it. So there's because this is my code and my code base, and I don't have to share it with anybody. I'm not going to conform to the standard on that one. If you know I'm in somebody else's code base, or I'm working on a team, or I'm working with a staff augmentation or something like that, or I'm working on a project, okay, we'll set the standards. We'll follow those standards, whatever the group decides. Okay, so this gets me that ID there, enter name. I think we're gonna have to do this. Oh no, are we gonna have to do this for everything? Okay, I'm just having a C sharp day of it. Dart is just not gonna like me. That's fine. Um, I can understand and or respect the fact that Dart should not like me for what I'm about to do or how I'm trying to do this. So what I would normally do in like the C sharp world, so there's a in the C sharp world there's a language extensions pack called language extensions or lang est, I guess. I forget that that's what I pull it down as the NuGet package. But anyway, what it affords me is the ability to create records before records were delivered from C sharp directly. And there's a pattern that I have seen used with those records that I'm trying to emulate here, whereby you can construct the initial thing, but it remains immutable. So that's kind of what this copy with is trying to do. Yeah, okay, that's all pet state. That's kind of what this copy with is trying to do, and I'm currently using the various states as a builder for the end for the final thing. I.e., I don't really want to construct. Oh, we're just gonna have a day of this. Don't mind me. I don't want to construct the domain object. Okay, then if it makes you feel better, you add the const. Yeah, see, then you give me a red squiggly here, so we can't add const. So is there a way that I can just not pay attention to that? No, there isn't. Okay, anyway. Um, I don't want to construct my animal until I know I have all of the data available. Again, in a C sharp world, I try to we try to be as immutable as possible and only allow the things to mutate that have to mutate. So if we don't have to, and we also put like more or less guard statements or throw statements for all of our domain objects. So I don't really want these things to be nullable when I have an animal. Like when I have an animal, I should have all of these things, except maybe an image, right? Everything else I should be able to get in from the user. So I don't want to construct this domain object until my UI state has cleared the oh I'm blanking validation. There we go. Ooh, it's you can tell it's Saturday. I'm having trouble getting my words together. Anyway, not that Saturday matters. That's any day thing. Um, so I'm using the states themselves in a manner like records, and I'm trying to have immutable states. So I'm trying to allow, and this is the thing, I don't actually want initial state from a pet state. What I really want to do, I think, is I need to put ooh, okay. I'm gonna try something new that I don't know if this is the correct thing to do or the correct way to do it, but I'm gonna try it. So I believe copy with. Okay, so that's not a actual Dart language thing. That's just how I've seen it done. Okay, so that tells me that I can have a create method. So I can have a add. No, we're gonna do this as t, right, as type. So we're gonna call it a create. And we are going to take in all the things, right? We're gonna take in all the things that matter. It's probably not gonna. Oh, I need to provide types. There we go. So that can't have a value of null because of its implicit default value is null. Try adding another explicit. Okay, we're learning. We are learning something about Dart required. Okay. So that's basically just saying that it has to be required. Like I said, I'm still new to that. I've got like maybe 60 hours total of Flutter Dev including the one course that I've taken. Got a couple of new courses lined up I'm going to take and look at and see how I feel about it afterwards. But it's funny because I worked with a gentleman years ago, and he would always say to me, "Oh, that's not going to work. That's not going to work unless we template this method." No, but I don't want to do that. All right, so let me take a step back. Let me tell you the story about this guy I used to work with. No, I'm not going to tell you that story because I don't know what I'm going to do here. I want to figure this out. So what I'm trying to do is use the state itself as the builder for the state, right? So that way I don't have to have layers upon layers upon layers of abstraction where I don't need them. But I can't do the create. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to couple a state to the next state, i.e., I don't want the creation of the pet initial. Like I want a factory. Okay, there is an actual explicit factory keyword too, so maybe I might need to do that. What I really want, I think, is a factory that creates a new type that you can provide. Let me see. Do I have a factory in here? I do not. I know I have a factory in my other project. I might have to pull that up in a second and look at it so that I can understand how to use it properly. Quick example. But what I really want is I want a factory that will get me the next state in the chain. So I don't want to couple this state to this one, right? Because I know I have an initial state. So when I pass it to the next one, I'm not even going to bother with this. I'm going to just completely and totally forget about this. And I'm just going to let the domain drive it, right? So this is where I always tell people, like, okay, domain-driven development is important, right? Because I just sat here and looked at a problem when I wasted, probably 10, 15 minutes. I'll go back and count later. I probably wasted a good couple of minutes just trying to figure out how to solve a technical problem that may or may not actually solve my domain problem, right? So the biggest thing now is let me go here and focus on my test, right? When the initial or this is really where the behavior driven development comes in. Let me take that step. The behavior driven development comes in because instead of worrying about the technology, I'm worried about the behavior of the object, right? So if I've stated that this is my approach, that I am going to use these types as builders for the the overall end state of an animal, right? Then I think what I should be doing at that point is, I don't know that I want to couple that either. So I think knowledge has to go up. So if anything, the animal would have a builder or a create on it. But that seems okay. So yeah, let me rethink about this. So okay, so what's actually happening here? Yeah. See, this is where it's like, okay, what are the requirements, Rodney? What are we supposed to be doing? We add a type, right? So let's just do a string, real quick. Animal type, right? Pet selected, animal type. So the event has to carry the information, and then the state can do something with it. So the real question is, do I relax my concern of the domain and allow my pet to just, or my animal object to just be the builder? Or do I keep it the builder at the UI level? I think I'm going to keep the builder at the UI level because these are more or less they're events that tie together UI things and potential domain state changes, right? So this is kind of the bridge. So I'm looking at this from that perspective, and I think that I'm going to remain on that path for now until somebody says, Rodney, you're stupid. Don't do it that way, please. I'm gonna keep going down this path and see where it goes. Let's explicitly call this animal type. Get. Oh, geez, there we go. C# for das win. Instance field must be initialized. Add late modifier. I want to add a required this dot. Okay, yeah, this makes sense. So the events will. Okay, so now my brain is catching up to where I think I want to be. So how I think this is going to work in my head for the moment, and we'll verify this, do some level of testing here in a second, right? So we've got this animal type. So I want to add a type. Let's just say, let me go back to my Figma design so that I can see what the heck I'm looking at or looking for. So it's going to ask, do you have a dog, cat, bird, rabbit, exotic? Yeah, I'm not going to actually ask that question. I'm going to hard code it to dog, but that's fine, right? So here we go. I have a dog. And then when I get to the enter, the add pet enter name, my expectation is that, yes, okay. So now my expectation, no, it should emit a state of, okay, so here's the question. The chicken egg. So the event fires and then we transition to a state. So the state of pet initial is the initial state. The state of add pet animal type is after we've gotten the event. Yeah, so after we've gotten the event, my expectation is that should emit. Let me go. Oh, yeah, we're being lazy. I'm gonna go pull up this other project real quick because like I love it when I get lazy and then I always tell myself, oh, I shouldn't do that, and I stop and I go start up another project and I get lazy again and I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, I know better. Here I am doing things that I know better than to do, So what basis do I have to tell anybody else anything? I don't. So you shouldn't listen to me. Okay. Oh, okay, okay, okay. So should emit add pet. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna change it. Like I kind of want to change this to like explicitly talk about the composition relationship, like has a animal type, like, but I don't want to do that because that could be bad. The block standard, as I understand it, is whatever the name of the block is should be the name of the name of the event, and the state should have that as a prefix. So I'm not gonna monkey with that. I am gonna say though that oh no should emit animal type with should emit animal type. That's fine, right? The assertion. I don't want to. I hate put so because it's not type safe. I don't like putting magic string stuff, so I don't want to accidentally have to come back and change that later. I just want to make it easy for myself. So all right, here we go. Pet animal type. This should have an animal type. Okay, I need to stash a late animal ID. Animal ID, because I don't want to have to. I want to have like equals animal ID. Ali. Yeah, I don't really care if you know the name of my dog. My baloney has a first name too, so you know there's that. Value isn't used. Well, we're about to use it. Copy, and then ID should be this ID, and then the type should be dog. Now we are at the point we're going to start stashing all the stuff. So that's going to be string. That's going to be underscore animal type. And the answer to that is going to be dog. Oh, I could probably just do that as a const, huh? It's probably going to tell me, just change it to a const. I might actually sneeze on you guys here in a second, so apologies in advance. Nope. All right. All right, so I add the animal type. Why does it remove leading? No, underscore. This. Oh, it all happens inside the main. Dun, dun, dun. I am so smart. We're going to run unit tests and see what that looks like. Okay, yep. All my block tests are failing. That's good. That's kind of what we want at the moment. I only want to look at failed tests. All right, so what is the promises? What does it expect that I didn't provide it? Is it just a compiler error? No. It's got to be an actual problem. Failed to load, compilation failed for. Oh, okay, it's telling me that's something that. Dun dun dun. Maybe I'm not smarter than a fifth grader. I'm probably not actually. So there's that. I mean, that's how these are set up. So do I not have my setup method correct? Let me go make sure that this is not a user error. Because usually it is. Usually it's like I just don't know what I'm doing. And it's funny. Okay, so no, I'm doing it mostly correct. Okay, yep. Each test is effectively its own program in this style. Okay, I see why it's telling me that now. Remove leading underscore in file because none of that matters. We're going to change that to add pet block. There we go. block, so that way everything stays the way it's supposed to. We pass in the animal and we expect these things, right? So now we should be able to run these tests. And you're still failing to load, and it's saying that you don't. Compilation failed for test. Add pet test. That's this thing. Oh, because add pet block is broken. It's a string, and then this is going to use whatever the state dot, yeah, ID and the animal and the, okay, yep. Still getting used to the syntax, unfortunately. ID, and then I need animal type selected. Yeah. Oh. Oh man, I'm so good at this. I have to remember the way these things are done in a different language and not be bad at it. Required. So that means that every event, no. The event happens. The state already has the other thing. Oh, I'm doing it wrong. That's why. That's the event. So the event is going to have an animal type, and we're going to pass it animal type. And then here we go. I am good. Okay, this is the constructor. So I want to do on add pet animal type selected. That's the event. We want to emit something similar to this. No, we're going to do the full, we're going to say, you know what? No, we're going to keep it simple, and we'll refactor when we care. That'll make my life easier. And we're just going to say something along the lines of emit dot, oh wait, no, emit animal type, add pet animal type, that's the state, and it's going to be the current state. Let me see, here we go. So now it's going to be ID, and it's going to be the state dot ID, and it's going to be the and the type is going to be the it's not that, because it should be the previous state, not the state because we're transitioning on the emit. So this should be the previous state. The previous state is going to be initial, so it'll have the ID. We pass in the type, and the type is going to be on the event. Sorry, brain. There we go. So based on that, don't do it. So that's another thing that's weird. When I go to convert expression body in C#, I do it at the beginning of the line. In Dart, I have to do it where the curly brace is, so that gets kind of weird. But it's cool. Oh, and I'm also not pointing these things out because I don't like them. I'm just pointing out the differences that my brain has to, like the context switch, right? That's something that I feel a lot of people don't pay attention to when they switch between the languages, is how much that actually takes. At least for somebody that doesn't do it often. I don't do it as often as I used to. Back when I did JavaScript, it used to be more, but not anymore. Okay. So now that looks somewhat like the way I think I want it to look. But this is where my friend was like, oh, well, it's not styled correctly. And I'm like, that's not horrible. but that doesn't feel good. That feels better to my brain. Okay. Because like this is a lot of extra cognitive load to me just to have a like I'm fine with like one statement per line, and even if that like is a complex statement, it's fine. Okay. Anyway, okay, so I will take in, and again, I don't know if this is right. Like I've seen some patterns where people will pass the actual text controller on the block events and states. I might end up there. I literally don't know what I don't know at this point. So I'm trying to go through it from a behavior driven perspective, and then when I wire it up to the UI, if my assumption was wrong, at least I've got some tests that I know will make sure that the stuff I've already written works, and I'll just have to figure out how to weave the controllers in place of the actual state. No big deal. But like I said, I don't know what I don't know yet, so I'm going to just go down my happy path, acting like I know what's good for me. So now, no red. I rerun. I did click the button, right? Okay. Sweet. Expected that. Actual that. Oh. Oh, I did something weird. I am too smart for my own good. That's what I did. I did smart stuff. Okay. Yeah, right. I need to figure that. Oh, okay. Dun dun dun. Animal ID. All right, that should be that. Oh, I must have done something smart in the block itself. Ooh. Okay. I don't think I'd have to actually pass in the initial state from outside the block. Okay, that's fine. So what I'll do is this. I'll just have a... This is why like I prefer to do it test driven, because like if I was trying to do this like I can do it, but it's just not the same. I don't feel as confident with the changes that I make, because I've lived that life where it's like, oh, okay, I make a change, and 3 months later it surfaces somehow because I didn't pay attention to some nuance. Yeah, so I have to be able to load the block with it. So I like to. Oh, is that a thing on the block? How about that? Man, if I was just as good at reading documentation as I want to be. Like I've done it before, and it's just not a good feeling to make changes and not be confident in the changes that you make. So, all right. So now, because like you notice, we just worked through a potential bug, or let me phrase, we worked through a bug that we definitely would have had. Had we not done this a little bit more appropriately. This requires an initial state, right? Oh, it's a positional parameter. I didn't make it. I'm still new to the syntax, folks, and I'm running my mouth, so that doesn't help. Now this changes things. Add required parameter. Like I need the soundboard. Required, super, no associated name, super constructor parameter. Oh, okay. I think because that's not how the syntax works, right? So I do required initial state, and then I do super Initial state. Yay! I are learning. Okay, cool. So I can't tell you how many like days it took me to get comfortable with this. Like I had to like I kept it up on Google. Was just like how do you construct required parameters in Dart? Because man, my brain just didn't want to take it. It was like nope, does not compute. We will set the add initial state to the add pet initial. I'm starting to think I actually do want state and event suffixes for my block stuff because it's starting to get like for a larger block, it's more cumbersome. For like 2 or 3 events, no big deal. But when you got like a series of events and a whole bunch of events, I think it's harder to reason about without the suffix there. And I'm usually not the suffix person. Like I don't like the async suffix. I don't like putting the type suffix on the end of things, but I might want to here. But I probably won't. I'll probably be stubborn and just not do it. Because that is my modus operandi. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Alright, so now I go and I run the thing again. And all my tests be passing, man. Perfect. All the tests pass. Cool. So now, and I started early today because I got a friend coming by because, you know, it's Saturday afternoon and being social is a thing, I'm told. Okay, because, and I think the reason why I'm starting simple and keeping it just the state on here is because the controller pattern I don't honestly understand. So trying to emulate a pattern I don't understand before I run into the problem that the pattern solves, I generally don't really learn anything. And because I'm doing this on my own time and I don't and like my clients are not having to pay for my learning, I'd rather learn it the way I like to learn it as opposed to trying to make sure I get things done while I'm learning. So again, it'll be easy to swap out later if I have to swap out the controllers, I think. But I think the overall concept of building out the animal from the states is going to work out the way I want it to. So let's keep going. I think we're going to need another group now. So we've got, at this point, we've got an animal type. So now we're going to have we're going to have to get the animal's name. So animal. So there's this thing in C# where people are starting to put unit tests directly next to the things that they test. I'm going to tell you for Dart, I think that would be fantastic because the folder structure so far has been a little different. I can't, like for the Flutter project, I actually tried to, and somebody else may be smarter than me and figured out how to do this, and I just haven't had time, haven't bothered to try and figure it out. But I can't reorganize these folders the way I like. So like I prefer to section these slightly different. Like I'd rather put like Linux and iOS and Android in a subfolder called targets because I don't really care about them half the time. Most of the time I care about my tests and my domain. So I think it'd just be easier to if I could just put my tests right by it, it would make me a much happier camper. But you know, we'll get there. Add pet event. So we have the event. So we got the name event. So the name event is gonna have it's gonna be very similar to this. We're gonna take this, paste that. Yep. Let's be smart and use our equatability. Whatever. let's make sure that the things are equal. Eek. Let's change this to name. Oh, these already have event at the end of them. So let's at minimum let's give the events so that the events are known as events. Because technically the events are the UI and the state is the domain. Ugh. But the cohesion between the 2 points. It's like the knee joint. Yeah. So in my mind. So if I do it this way, then I should be able to go back to my test. Oh, that's what I was going for. So let's copy this and go back. And let's go back one more. And this is going to be the event. See where I say like the magic string? Like I need a name of operator. Stat. Again, my arrogant C# self with my awesome tooling. Okay, so the name event should present a pet add pet name. Yeah, so let's change that to add pet name to make my life easier. So this is just going to be add pet name. So we'll go to the block, the add pet block, and we'll just do add name. And I know I can just emit the thing in line. I prefer encapsulation. Encapsulation makes me happy. So if you want to do it a different way, you feel free. But I like to encapsulate as much as I possibly can because I've learned that encapsulation is my friend when it comes to refactoring. I didn't understand it when I was younger in my career, but I can tell you now that yes, I could do this. I could just do block.add, and then this would be scattered all over the code where I have add pet name, event name, blah 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 blah, and it would be everywhere. But when I go to refactor, let's say I add type, right? Now, granted, I still have to change this method everywhere, but like I'm only have a small set of usages of the actual event construction. There's a concept that I heard a developer talk about at a conference years ago, where he said new is glue, right? So anytime you new up an object or construct or initialize an object, using the new operator, or in this case just from the constructor, it kind of locks you in to a degree. I don't know how true that is in Dart yet in Flutter, but I don't want to sacrifice the beliefs that I've had so far that I've used for C#. I don't want to just abandon them because I'm in a new framework. Because I feel like a lot of people come to a new framework and they blame the framework and say, "Oh, well, the framework isn't set up for me to keep code clean." I've actually heard that about React Native. I do not know, but I've heard that it's hard to keep code structured well in React Native. So just because I'm using Flutter doesn't mean I'm just going to abandon all my C# learnings. Okay, so we're adding the event. So we're going to add a name. We are not going to add animal type. Okay. Smirt. Ooh. Capital string. That has taken some getting used to. Yeah, I have a lot of props for developers that go between multiple languages in a given day to do their day jobs, because I don't care to do it. I can do it. I do it. It's not my favorite thing to do. And yes, it becomes second nature half the time. But it's still not fun. And we'll just add name. Okay. So when we add, this is where I have to start being smart. And I have to start setting the block state ahead of time. There's a way that I can do that. I can set the... Yeah, I'm going to have to do that in a minute. Let's get to the query, because I'm pretty sure... Yeah, there's a seed. Haha, okay. So there's a nice little function baked into the block test where I can seed the value of my thing. Yeah. So I'm going to seed this test with a add pet animal type. And I'm about to start putting all of this behind some private variable jazz here in a minute so I can reduce the amount of extra cruff I got to do. In my other project, it did not take it the same. Why is that? This caused a compile time issue, or was it a runtime issue? We'll find out. Yep, it's a runtime issue. Never mind. Yeah, maybe not. Let's see. This should just do as add pet state. Let's rerun it again because it works on my other project, so I know that I had to do that because there was an issue with the seed function, supposedly. All right, so it's oh. This is the part where we realize we didn't actually set the thing to emit anything. So this is why I actually like test-driven development, because it's like, had I been doing this for real and just expecting the UI, I'd be sitting there clicking the buttons on the UI. Why doesn't this thing work? And it's because I never set the state, right? But I get a very quick 34 milliseconds it took for me to realize that I made that mistake, right? Oh, no, for the thing to report that I made the mistake. And it's reporting it to me. It's not like I had to find it. I think that's the fun of it to me. Is I get that add pet name required. We want this to be the current state. What? Super type name. Did I change it? I didn't. String animal ID name. State. Oh, is the state? Oh, that's why, because the state is type. Dun dun dun. I am so smart. I am so smart. SMRT. Okay, so you see kind of the pattern that I thought I was seeing earlier that I'm seeing now for sure. So this is kind of how I build those, how the C# language extensions recommends to build those records, or at least the samples do. That's the way they do it in the samples. Where you're taking the previous state and you're just appending the new information to create a new state. So this state is not the same as this state. This is one state. This is another state. These things are immutable. But what I get is the ability to say, when this event happens, grab the current state and project a thing. So now the hard part is going to be if I have to go back in the wizard, right, and then edit something, what is that going to look like? So we'll definitely write a test for that, right? Like, hey, I emitted the name, and then when I got to the next screen, I realized the name was wrong, so I went back and changed it, and what is the new state? What does that state look like? Again, because I'm writing a unit test, I get better, in my opinion, better feedback than if I was actually doing it on the wizard, but it requires you to be able to kind of project certain things in your own mind, which can be the hard part, which was the hard part for me. It just took a while to get my mental model wrapped around that. All right, so we've added the name. So yeah, why don't we test that now on the name? Because I guess this is the first time that we would have to do this, right? So let's say that because this is the end of that block test. Yeah, okay, so should emit name, right? So should emit, it's going to emit a pet name, animal type, and then the name again, right? So this is the scenario where we add the pet. No, no, no. No. Ooh, okay. Let me think about this. So if we're on the screen and I go back, so I'm on, so I go to get the type, right? And then I'm on the info screen. I'm sorry, I'm on the name screen, so or the name portion of the entry, right? So I take in the name and I say, okay, name has been taken in. Um, what is your pets? What's your yeah, okay, so I take the name and then after I enter the name and I add the name, I have to go back to or is the so that begs the question, is the UI going to emit a single event with the entirety of the name or one event with a portion of the name? I'm going to assume that it's going to be a similar throttle or sorry debounce concept to what I would do in C sharp, but I don't know for sure just yet. So I'm going to take the assumption that I won't actually add the pet name the first time. I'll be in the middle of adding the pet. I realize that I accidentally selected the wrong thing. I'll go back. I'll get a new animal type. So we're going to still seed it with this animal type. We're going to okay, and the action is going to be a little bit more complex. So convert to body block. So we are going to go, so from a block perspective, we're going to go back and we are going to resubmit the type as, I shudder to think, cat. Some people are cat people. I'm not a cat person. I know that cat people are usually very, very persnickety. When you tell them you're not a cat person, they think that you're the most horrible person in the world. Screw you guys. I mean, I like cats. I just don't want to own any. I don't hate your cat. I just prefer dogs. I'm allowed to have preferences in life. You can't take that away from me, cat people. Sorry, that was funny to me. Anyway, so I go back, I add the type cat, and then I add the name that I was going to add anyway. So that means that at that point, the type here should be cat, and I'm going to make this. Oh, there's no place for it. Boo. Boo. Okay, that's fine. So now I expect there to be a. Oh, yeah. I expect. No. Animal. Seed, animal type. Here we go. Sorry. I'm going to copy that because I don't want to be here all day messing with this. Right? So I want to grab that and I want to say that it's going to be these two. Dump those in there. Okay, so then I think my expectation is correct in that I will have a animal type of cat, and then the name will come through after that. So I'll have just the type and the name now. And this again, this assumes that I'm only emitting the event after I have captured the entirety of the value. If that changes, then I'll have to change my tests accordingly. But I think this should pass. Hopefully it fails, but I think it should pass. It fails. Good. That's what we like to see, is failing tests. Expected that. Actual, just that. I okay. I'm adding the type again, which should emit that state. Oh, sorry. don't care. Yeah, my expectation is that it would re-emit this event. So hold up. We're gonna start putting some breakpoints in here in a minute. Yeah, we expect because we're triggering that event again, right? We're explicitly calling add type. So I expect the animal type and the pet name to come through, even though we are in the animal type state. It should matter because I didn't put any restrictions on my block. I didn't check for type or for state before I emitted. So my expectation, okay, so let's now we get to do the debugs. Go back to my test. Debug. Woo-hoo. Okay. So that's the okay, so that's the seed. No, that's not the seed. Okay. Vert to Ferk? Okay. So now it's getting me the name. The oh. Yeah, it's still the previous state, which is correct. Okay. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Can you just so this is where it's weird in C sharp. If I just click resume, it's just gonna run to completion unless I have breakpoints or unless I hit more exceptions. This is like breaking in places I don't expect it. All right. What am I missing? I'm seeding this pet state, right? So I'm saying that this is my initial state. And then I'm saying add the type. Okay, so let's put breakpoints here and here to verify that we are doing what we think we should be doing. Hey, you debug. Rerun the no, I don't want to rerun the test, I just want to debug that. Ooh, sa. Debug. State. Okay, that's my event. But I haven't hit my first breakpoint yet. Okay. Okay, so now I'm about to change it. So that's just the initialization. So I should be this block should be in state add pet animal type. All right. So now I'm going to add the type. Vert to Ferk? Okay, you saw that, right? Like it didn't hit this breakpoint. Maybe it's got something to do with the fact that I'm seeding it in that state. Well, it's definitely not calling it when I would expect it to. Right? Like I'm not imagining that. That should definitely be calling. Okay. So I'm adding the type as cat. I'm adding the animal type selected event. But the okay, the state transition is not happening. So that tells me I'm not smart enough to realize a nuance about the block, maybe? Is it that the block doesn't actually change? Like if the event gets emitted again, it won't if I'm already in that state? But I don't see a direct connection between like this is the connection between events and states, so that doesn't make sense to me. All right, so what am I missing? What am I not doing correctly? Let's stop it because it's just gonna get annoying. Paste that there. Yeah, and I think I'm about to shut it down here for today, unfortunately. Next time I come back, I'll probably be for longer because next weekend I don't have anything to do. I'm officially done with my summer activities, I believe. So I can focus on more important things like writing code. Shh, don't tell my wife. Which is funny because if she was here, she would laugh and laugh and laugh. Um, okay. So let's go back and change the test itself, right? And let's see if instead of seeding it, what if instead of the seed, we pass this as the initial state when we construct the block? Now, I don't know what that's supposed to look like. Add pet block. I don't know what that's supposed to look like in terms of the way the test is constructed, but I just want to see if there's a behavior difference. Because sometimes it's just like you're putting a square peg in a round hole, and it's not the you're sorry, you're putting a square peg in a square hole. You're just instead of putting the square peg in the square hole the way it's supposed to go, you got to kind of turn so it doesn't go incorrect. So okay, sometimes you got to shift your thinking a little bit. Okay, so that's the initial. That's got to be the initial. No. Huh. Huh. Well, what do you know? So the seeding was causing some weird issue with the way that the state was. Ooh, that means I might not be able to use that seed method the way I thought in tests. If it's going to have that kind of side effect, I feel like I should check to see if there's a bug out there for that in the block test. If not, I should like say something. But I know that there was something on one of the issues. I was looking at the issue where I found out about that as state business, where there have been some issues around some of these block tests, but I'm not comfortable enough with Dart yet to be able to go in and fix it. I'm not that great. So maybe when I am, I will. But right now I'm not. So okay, so that proves to me what I already thought I knew, and that gives me the ability. Let me copy. Let me do that. Let me call it a cat. Why must I be like that? Why must I chase the cat? Nothing but the dog in me. All right. All right. Cool. So now there's no hard coded jazzmatazz. And now I have been able to say that if I have already added so now this doesn't matter right now. This will matter in the future if I tie my block down to only emit these things when they are in the states that I want them to be in. In a classical state machine, you can define states and transitions, right? So state one, transition one, state two, state one, transition two, state three, right? Like you can do those types of things. So you can do it with block two. I've started to do some of it. It's not as prescriptive on how you do it, but that doesn't bother me any. It just takes. I'm very much the type of person where I like to draw out the. I like to put it on a piece of paper and draw out the state transitions so that I know what can go to where in my mind before I actually start writing the code. But that's all because of a professor that I had in college that legitimately changed the way I look at all of software engineering. Because he was a hard ass. He was fantastic. Anyway, enough about going back in the way back. We've got that, so I mean, let's keep going down this path and get as many of these things tested as we can, I guess? Question mark. And I think we're gonna want to do that previous test for each subsequent type we make. So this is no longer. So we looked at the add pet name event. We're gonna add the pet breed event, and we're gonna do this because like, so looking at it, right, I don't like, I'm trying to do it this way because the event doesn't need to carry all of the context. It legitimately just needs to give me the input from that screen, right? So like, that's how I'm envisioning the way Bloc works. Again, I Bloc is very similar to a pattern that I came to the realization we should be using in the C# world anyway. So I'm digging it from that perspective, but I don't really know how it's supposed to be used. Like, I haven't talked to a Bloc expert. I've read some blog posts. I've read the documentation. So that means I'm an expert, right? No, I don't. I'm still trying to figure it out. But this is how I'm doing it. And like I said, until somebody comes and comments and says, "Hey, there's a better way," in which case I will go look at your better way, and if it's better, I will use it. All right, so now I've got the smart. Yeah, so that way I only have a single responsibility on each event. I could keep the properties on the event, but like, that feels like way too much when the state has the information, and the event is a momentary blip in time. The state is supposed to be more durable. So it's, I don't care about the momentary representation in time. I care more about the durable state, or and the level of durability is going to be dependent upon what we need. Add. Okay. So if I'm looking at this from an event perspective, right? Events are like actions, right? They're like verbs. Throw, put, place, right? Those are actions that are happening. So an event is the result of an action. So maybe it's like the past tense of an action. I don't know. But like, if you are entering something, when you are done, you have entered the thing. So it's an entered event. So maybe I need to reconfigure the way I'm looking at these events and do, add pet name. I would want to do pet name entered event, but I know that I can't change that because I have to change the name of my block. So maybe I keep coming to that. I keep going around in a circle around that. And a friend of mine right now is saying, "Rodney, you're bike shedding." I'm not bike shedding. I promise. I just want to express the complexity as best I can. That's all. As intelligently as I can. Because expressing state is hard. Like, mutable state is one of the hardest things we do. Yep. And that means it's going to be name again. And I can now be, granted, this is a unit test, so I don't want to test maybe not everything, but I can technically test the entire way through the wizard and back again if I want to, based upon this. Okay, so yeah, the pet. So now we're gonna change this from pet name, and this is gonna be the add breed. There is no add breed, so we will create a method called add breed. This will be called breed, and we will do probably something very similar to this. except it's not going to be a pet name. It's going to add pet. Wow. Add pet breed. There we go. We're good at this. This is actually, but these are both going to be that. So let's just copy, paste, paste. That's happy. Oops. Yep. So now that that's happy. See, yeah, I'm doing it again. Somebody should take my keyboard away. All I'm going to do is mess it up. Anyway. Dun dun dun. And then add pet breed. Yeah, so because because the events are kind of single responsibility at the moment, it affords me the ability to, if I have to send the controller information on the event, or if it's on the state, or however I end up doing it, like it's isolated. It's single responsibility. I don't really have too much to worry about. Okay. So now if I start following that convention, my code base becomes very, very big very quickly. I don't think I want to do anything on this one. Yep. So we'll add the pet breed event. I could probably make this an enumeration of sorts, but it's easier to just let them key it in, and if it's bad data, it's bad data. I'm not trying to model the domain of the animal kingdom. I don't even think scientists have it all figured out, so why should I? Okay, so now add breed is valid. So if I go back to my test, add breed, we're going to add the breed. We're going to copy that to make sure we have it on our clipboard. We're going to go to that. We're going to call that. And he is a boxer. All right, so that's name and breed. So now I expect this to not be that. And I expect this to be the breed. And I expect the breed to be breed. All right. So again, I know that I'm supposed to put a comma here and let everything expand, but I really like having my entire constructor just right here. Maybe if it gets to the margin, I'll freak out, because usually, like, I'm big on that. Like, when I get to the margin, chop line, play no games. But for now, I think I'm okay with this. This is going to be animal type. And I don't even... Ooh, scheisse. There we go. So let's come back up here. Animal type no longer has to be animal type. This can just be dog. And then we can move cat and dog up. Those are actually less important informations about everything. Here we go. The name has to be configured before we... That's weird to me, actually. I feel like I should be able to do that. I know that that means that I can't use that. So let's change this to GUID. It's a GUID. GUID, GUID, I've heard both used in my time as a developer. I have an opinion. My opinion doesn't matter. It's my preference. My preference is GUID because sounds easier on my ears. Maybe. Here we go. I need this to be the initial state now, so that will go there. And now I expect this unit test to pass, maybe, first time? Don't know, question mark. Oh, womp womp. Notice that I made a mistake, didn't I? So let's fix that. Let's rectify that mistake real quick. Watch the test fail. This is where I'm very much the type of person where I'm always skeptical when my tests pass. Like, I rerun them and rerun them. I make changes to make sure that I see them fail, because it's just like, nothing worse than being confident in a test that's wrong. Because copy paste errors, because who wants to rewrite everything every single flipping time? It's tedious, right? Scott Hanselman will tell you that you only have but so many keystrokes in your life, so you should be very, very careful about how many you use. I think I agree with that. So now, so you copy and paste with confidence if you have tests to cover you up, but make sure that your tests are copied and pasted correctly, because one copy paste error begets another. Okay, so this at least tells me that I can do the previous. Now, if I really want, I can go back and each set of tests, I can go back one further, right? So like we're 3 stages in, so I can go 3 steps back. When we get to 4 steps, I can go 3. I don't care about that right now. At minimum, I want to test that if I'm coming from what I currently consider to be the previous state and going to the next state, that transition works, and hopefully I'll just be testing each unit along the way, and that gives me a good feel at the end if I feel like I need to do a deeper level of tests later because I break something, then I add them when I break stuff. I'm not the stickler that tells you have to have 80% code coverage. No. Write tests that make sense. Write tests that are not brittle. Write tests that test the behaviors of your objects. And, when you find an odd behavior, you document it with a new test. It's no real big dogma there. I'm not really a dogmatic person, which is funny. I actually very much am in some respects, but I'm not in this one. So that gets me the age. How old is my pet? So the design calls for asking for the age. I'm actually going to change that, and I want because age is a static thing, right? If you tell me how old your pet is today, all I know is that today your pet is 8. Tomorrow they could be 9. Next month they could be 10. Who knows, right? I don't know any of that information. But if you give me your pet's date of birth, that's a concrete value. That's a fixed position in the space-time continuum that I can then calculate the pet's age for you for the rest of its life cycle. So now, if you don't know your pet's exact birth date, that matters, right? You speculate it. You give me a year, and that's close enough, right? That'll give you some understanding, right? Like, let's say you pick up a stray. You won't know that information. If you get your dog from a breeder, you'll know that information. So, you try and make it usable for everybody. I happen to know my dog's birth date. He's actually born a week before my birth date, which is great. But I'm gonna go in with the assumption that you can give me the date, and if you don't, you just make one up. If you don't know it, you make one up. Maybe I allow you to skip that, but also I feel like later on there's going to be some age concerns that I'm going to potentially want to send push notifications for, right? Like, hey, your dog is 9 years old. He's coming up to the end of his life. Did you get him the arthritis pills or whatever, whatever nonsense comes up later from a requirements perspective, right? However this solution grows. So I'm going to get to that event, and instead of the age event, I'm going to add pet date of birth. Yeah, buddy. All right, this is where things get weird because I actually don't know enough about the Dart date time system to be effective here. So I'm going to Google a little bit while I'm talking to you guys. At the same time, I'm... Oh, yeah, that helps, doesn't it? When you click buttons properly. Take in date of birth, Dart. Represent date of birth in Dart. Okay, date time. Okay, so it's just a date time. All right, cool. So this is just going to be a date time object. This is going to be date. Just going to call it date. Even though it's a date time object, I'm only going to call it date. It's going to be a date time. We're going to take it in. All right, so we're gonna copy this event. We're gonna go backwards in the time bit. We're gonna add another group. We're gonna call this pet date of birth event. Yep, should emit. Add pet. Add pet date of birth. Yeah, I think that works for me. Add date of birth. This is going to be a date time, and we're going to call it the year. The year is 9999. What year was that Joker born? I want to say it was 2021. Yeah, had to be, because I remember where I was. Month is going to be 11. Okay. Clearly, I don't know how to enter in date time. Oh, okay. They're positional parameters and not named parameters. Ooh, that seems weird. I would actually prefer those to be named parameters, given there's so many different things that you can send in on the date time. Oh, it doesn't give it a return type? That's weird. All right. So we've got a method called add date time. We're going to take that and we're going to copy it. And we're going to say const date time, date of birth. Take the const off and just call it final. That'll work. So now we put that there. We're going to copy this out. And we're going to just make it simple on ourselves, I think. Come on, you can click buttons. That, delete that. Save, okay. So this is going to be add pet breed. And this is going to be, yikes, add date of birth. Is that not the constructor of this thing? And okay. Yep, we're gonna do that. Oh, okay. That's where the brain is. We didn't finish filling out what the state was supposed to look like. That, and then let's do, let's call it date of birth. Here we go. So now that, yeah, I definitely need a soundboard. All right, there we go. So now I'm going to run these tests. They're going to pass. Probably not. Yep, even better. Ooh, we broke it. Where did we put? That's the end of that. That's the end of the group. The group. That's oh, burr. Oh, okay. I just needed that. That is not the case. What are you yelling at me about? What do you want me to put? Insert. That doesn't seem correct though. Okay, I broke something, so let's copy this. Let's undo things until we... No, screw it. We're just gonna figure it out. We're just gonna figure this out. No, that doesn't belong there. Okay, so that closes up. Stop yelling at me. So that closes up that group. So, okay, let's close the group. Oh, okay. There we go. Now if I hit the buttons, everything looks better. And then if I rerun the tests, all the tests screen, nope. All of my new group stuff is broken, which is fantastic because we didn't actually add the event bits to the block. So we need to come over here and do this again. I think that's where I'm gonna have to do that factory jazz is there. This is gonna become blah 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 blah. There we go. Emit that state. That is going to be the state. And the event is going to be date of birth, and that's going to be the event dot date. So now if I run this again, one test fails. Should emit junk and stuff. Where's the failure? Should emit date of birth. Event. Ooh. Yeah, we should not be seeding that. We should be seeding this, I think. What happens? So we get the name, the breed, Yeah, there we go. So now we've reached the point where it's just like, okay, now maybe it makes sense, but I could always just stash these up at the top here, which is probably what I'll end up doing to reduce the amount of times I have to use the constructor. So, oh, my friend is here. I will, yeah, right on time as the dog is barking. So I'm gonna get this test passing, which it should pass hopefully right now. No, okay. Well, I guess first thing we'll do next time, if I don't do it before then, is to get this test to pass, and then we'll figure it out from there. Thanks for watching, and I'll definitely be around next week.